Hi, this is Sean. Welcome back to the channel. This video I'm pretty excited about. I'm actually kind of proud of myself. I got a little creative here, and that was putting together an everyday carry, an EDC toolkit. Okay? Well, people think, well, what's so fancy about that? Well, I'm pretty proud of how many tools I was able to get into this toolkit. All right? Let me get the key. And with my everyday carry bags here, this is my normal setup, so it's not too bad actually to get into it. So I just undo my strap holder here, get the extra strap out of the way, loosen this up. Well, extra loose just for the video. And this is where I was telling you before about running the strap behind the passenger peg. It kind of locks that in, which is kind of neat. Okay, so we'll roll this up, get our key. All right, so this is my toolkit. Nope, not the original bag. This is actually a bag that I had for stakes for a tent. A little cheap one. So let me open this up for you and show you how much I got in here that fits in there. And my theory is, I love theories, is that when I do my adventure rides, okay, all my tools are going to fit in the toolkit here, short of tire spoons and an air compressor or air pump or whatever I might use to, you know, if I had to change a tube or whatever. I still have some storage, issues with the other stuff, but again, for everyday carry, this toolkit I think is pretty impressive. It has everything other than, changing out a tire, okay, or changing a tube. So, see if I can do this one-handed without having everything go everywhere. There's a couple tools I'm very proud of. We'll get this in order for you to see. I just want you to see that everything I'm going to have on the table does fit in that tool compartment, which I think is really cool. This is my custom tool that I'm really proud of. This goes with it. Maybe I shouldn't be so proud of it. Hey, when you don't have a machine shop and you're making stuff at home and you accomplish something, hey, it's okay to be proud. So let me get this cleaned up here. Let me get this straightened up and we'll get back to this. Okay, this is a little more cleaned up. So this here, I carry some tools that people maybe don't think about, but picks. Okay, this is a nice little pick that's threaded. This is from my father. This is how old this is. So you can thread this together. Okay, there's always times that you can use a pick. Right, but this one's nice because it does break down small, so it fits into the kit. You get my assortment of Allen wrenches that I'm going to need. Some of these are not typical that you would need on the bike, but because I have my Garmin and a couple other things, I have some special Allens. I've got those. I always need just a plain drift, just a plain piece of metal. You never know if you need it, what you can use it for. You've got your wrench assortment here, and what I will do is in the details below, I will detail the sizes and everything that I have so that you can know. Because what I've made it a point to do is figure out exactly what sizes I need, so I'm not carrying anything that I don't. So I'm carrying 4 wrenches, and unfortunately they're all opened in rather than boxed in, but I was able to get 2 sizes other than this one. This is a 6, and the reason I have that little 6 is you also do the, it's actually for the spokes, okay? Rather than carrying a custom spoke wrench, that's all that you need if you find yourself in a terrible situation where you need to tighten some spokes. So really, between 3 wrenches, you've got all your sizes covered. Okay, would it be nice to have boxed ends, closed in? Yeah, it would be. But I get 2 sizes per wrench, so again, that saves room. You got your standard fuse puller, which comes with the bike. Now, the sockets that I went with 3/8 drive. Okay, my original plan was to use 1/4 inch, but then I got concerned that maybe the 1/4 inch might not have the strength to do some things that I needed to do. Okay, so what I've done is I've upsized to 3/8, and I didn't want any 1/2-inch drives. I was trying to keep everything simple and clean. So I have a little small extension. I've got a little breaker bar / T-handle, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm not carrying a ratchet. Okay, but I can use this as a T-handle or like a small breaker bar. Okay, and I've got more to go with that in just a second. So, you know, I've got my standard sockets here. Again, I will have the sizes all listed. These are all sizes that would apply to the bike. Okay. Now, this is your 14mm hex. What do you need that for? You need that for the front axle. Okay. So this was originally pressed into a 1/2-inch drive socket. Okay. It was actually like this in a 1/2-inch drive. Well, I didn't want to carry a 1/2-inch drive. I had 3/8. So I had my buddy across the street who has a press this out, okay? So I carry it single, alone, and I just drop it into my 14mm socket if I need to take off the front wheel, okay? So this is it's all about saving space, saving weight. That's the reason I've taken these axles that I have. Let's get this for a second. Get your standard screwdriver, you know, that reverses. That's, you know, a Phillips on one end, a common on the other. And this I'm pretty proud about. You never can have enough pliers, right? But I was able to get all these in this kit too, and it all fits in there. So these are some Craftsman. I can't remember the exact name of what these were called. And it had some big old plastic rubber on the handles, you know, to protect your hands. But that took up space, and I couldn't get it in there, so I pulled those off. Very old set of needle nose and a small set of locking pliers. What I did is I went and measured, you know, the max length that I could get inside the toolbox over here, for lack of a better term, the toolbox, and that's how I built this toolkit. I measured everything. Like I said, this originally would not fit because of the rubber protectors on here for your hands. But I thought, this is an emergency toolkit, right? This is not something I'm using every day. But this is what I'm most proud of right here. So, as you know, it's a 24mm on the rear axle, and I didn't have a 24, but this is a 15/16 if I'm not mistaken. I can double check it, but this fits perfectly. And it was a really long wrench, so I cut it down to the length that would fit. But then, as I was thinking about it, it's like I didn't have enough leverage with this short little, you know, wrench to get the axle nut loose. I needed more leverage. So I thought, well, so what I did is I took some conduit, okay? And I squeezed it down on one end. And you see here that I've ground this from here to here, and I've rounded it and smoothed it. So I've ground this all down. So, boom. I have now double the length of it. And I've got plenty of leverage. That is plenty of leverage to get the axle nut off, okay? And it just pulls right apart. Well, that was, you know, then I thought, well, you know, if I find myself in a situation over here that I'm, you know, needing to use my 3/8 and I don't have enough leverage on this, what can I do there? Well, hey, let's use the other end. So the other end, you see it's I don't know what kind of shape you would describe that as, but there you go, an extension handle, okay? You can push it in. You don't have to leave it that far out, but you still have more length right there. So I have an extension for my 15/16, which I think is a 24mm for the rear axle. And then I've got this in the event that I need some leverage when I'm using my sockets, okay, with my breaker bar or T-handle or whatever you want to call it. So again, basic, simple toolkit that can take everything off the bike. And of course, naturally, these are just generic, you know, as far as my dad, who taught me how to work on things, would beat me up if he saw me using these on any kind of hardware. Use the right tool for the job, he would always say. And I agree. So, like I said, I will list the sizes, you know, the Allens, or the wrenches, or the sockets that I've got here. But I'm very proud that I get this much stuff in that little box, okay? And that leaves for when I do my adventures, that I will, carry tire spoons, in my bigger bags. I will carry a small pump, whether it's a little small rechargeable air pump or a hand pump, whatever. And then naturally the only other thing additional would be tubes, right? Whether I'm going to carry 2 tubes, a 21 and an 18, or just carry a 21 and use it in the rear if I need to. And then, a few other little things like, a little bit of safety wire, a little bit of duct tape. I already showed you here in my everyday carry before, where I already have some zip ties, the little stuff. But I'm not going to be occupying a lot of my storage when I go on my adventures with tools, because I got so many of the everyday carry tools right in that side toolbox. So I hope you find this helpful. Go shop around, find stuff that you can modify, that you can get to fit in there. I know everybody says you use the tools you carry on your bike to work on your bike. I'm not doing that. I've already experimented with this stuff. I know what all this stuff does. It works. It's not ideal, but it works. Like I said, all my wrenches, ideally I'd have box ends. But then I would instead of having 3 wrenches, I'd have 6. So that's the reason I have the sockets. The reason I went with 3/8 is because I didn't want the bigger size of the 1/2 inch, and I was scared that the 1/4 inch might not be strong enough. So it's pretty funny. I had to order like 7mm 3/8 because who carries a 3/8 drive with a 7mm on it, right? Nobody. So it was a little funny. I had to pay like $2 each, on Amazon to order some of these sizes in a 3/8 drive that I didn't have. But it made it all uniform, and it makes the toolkit very, very small. Thank you. I'll do a better job explaining what I did here. So this is a piece of conduit that I took, okay? You see I haven't cleaned it up yet. It's still kind of rough, but I'm very proud of that, the way this came out. So you see on one end, it's got like a raindrop shape to it, and the other end is just more oval, rectangular shape. So I took my 15/16, okay, you see where I ground it down, tapered it, smoothed it, okay, to fit the sleeve. The other thing that I didn't mention earlier is you see how thick this is, or I should say how thin this is. This was twice as thick. So I took the time to cut that off and grind it down as well. Again, this tool serves one purpose and one purpose only. That's to remove the rear axle nut, okay? I played with this and it seems very sturdy. You see this is originally an older Craftsman, so it was very, very thick and strong. And this was, like I said, twice as thick. So taking that thickness off made it store a lot easier. But when I tried to remove the nut when it's torqued down properly, this just did not give me enough leverage, right? So that's the reason for the sleeve. All right, doing the sleeve gets me back to a respectable length for sure, and the leverage is not a problem. No problem with the leverage. So it can go in either way. So, and you see I've tapered it. All I did is use a vise and crush this down. It took a little experimentation for sure, just to compress this, to grind this, to get a nice combination. And you see it flares back out here where I did not compress it with the vise. So it did take some experimentation. It did take a little bit of playing around with it to get it to work right. But it locks in, stays locked, works well. And then for the little breaker, the 3/8 breaker bar or T-handle, very similar thing, right? So what I used here is the little detent ball, which keeps this from coming off. And that's where that goes into the bottom part of the raindrop, for lack of a better term, shape. Okay, so you can just put that in there. And again, you can just push it in and adjust it to length if you need it. I don't think you'll need that, but since I had one end done and I had the other end doing nothing, I said, well, let me go ahead and adjust that. So again, this was nothing more than putting in a device and working it and taking some time and just manipulating it out. So that allows me to get some long tools in my toolkit and gives me leverage that I need for moving anything. So like for example, when I put the 14-inch socket, 14 millimeter, I'm sorry. So when I take the 14 millimeter socket, okay, and remember I had pressed the 14 millimeter hex head out of a 1/2-inch drive, put that on there, and if I need the leverage, I have this here that I can put on for the front wheel. I don't think I'm going to need it, but just in case.